Quick Hits.
It's time for Hobby Quick Hits. A sports card podcast where we tackle the hobby's hottest topics in depth to help you navigate the sports card landscape and enjoy the hobby we all love. Here's your host, John Newman.
Welcome to another edition of Hobby Quick Hits. Thanks for joining us. Today's episode, fractional shares. And when you say fractional shares, you usually it's kind of black and white, right? People either fit on one side or the other. Somebody will say, listen, if I can't own the card in my possession, I don't want it. I don't want to pay anything and own a small percentage. And then you have the other side of that aisle that says, you know what, unless I win the Mega Millions, I'm never going to be able to afford a certain card like that. And this gives me the opportunity to own a small portion of it, and, I don't mind it. So before I get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, let me do full disclosure. I do partake in the fractional share market. Not crazy, just a few $100 in two platforms, Collectible and Rally. Let's get that out front, right off the bat. They are not sponsors. I'm going to talk about them. I'm also going to talk about Otis, a third fractional share company. Those are considered the big three. I think there's going to be a few more entering the arena, or maybe have and just haven't made a name for themselves yet. But, I just want to be very upfront right at the beginning of this episode about, my stance. Now, the funny thing is, if a few years ago, if you would have told me then that I would do fractional shares, I would laughed at you. I would have said, nah, I don't see myself doing that. That's sort of silly. I want the card in my hand. Kind of like I just said, I'm the guy that wants, you either own the card or you don't. If you've listened to me enough on this show or other shows that I've been on, I always, the blockchain, anything that's not real, NFTs, I don't believe in. I think it either is real or it's not real. There's no in between. You either can physically hold the item or it's air, right? And that's my stance, and I'm sticking to it. But, we're not talking about air with fractionals. These are actual items behind the shares. It's just that you're never going to own the physical copy of the card again unless you, get rich or win the lottery, right? And so it gives folks an opportunity. And let's be honest, too. When you buy shares, I can tell you, I think I'm into 6 different items, the 6 IPOs if you want. And from what I've paid to get in, the shares are already worth more than that. So if I was to sell them, I would make more than I paid in. And I think there's people who do that too. It's an investment, right? Probably buying more shares than I can, or the max out. Each company has a limit, but, to turn a profit. You may not like it, but cards have become a profit business. We talk about college sports. It's pure. No, it's not. College sports is a business. Well, everything is a business now. Pokemon cards, right? Designed to be played by kids and handled by kids. Yu-Gi-Oh! These are big business now. You don't have to do it for that reason. You don't have to like it, but you have to admit it, okay? You may not do it. You may not, like the fact that that's where it's at, but that's where it's at. And fractionals are a business opportunity for some folks. Now, for me, I don't use it in that fashion. Most of my stuff that I bought into is Jackie Robinson type stuff. One thing's that Jackie Robinson signed second year MVP bat. Never going to be able to buy that. Well, I don't want to say never, ever. Most likely. And so it's fun to own a few shares. I bought into the shares of the 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson. I bought into shares of a 53 Topps Mantle PSA 9. I bought into shares of a 57 Topps Mantle PSA 9 or 10, I believe. So I've got it all written down on all my statements. But I'm not even doing it for either case. I'm not even doing it to get rich. I'm just doing it because it's fun. I'm probably, not to be cocky, for the price level I got in these and what we see cards doing. Those cards are going to sell for who knows how much when, and I'll make a little money and I'll be on to the next thing, whatever tickles my fancy. And most of the times I get a notification, this is up for IPO, this is up for investment, and I don't even open the app up. But there's something catches my eye, especially Jackie Robinson, then I may go in and buy a few shares. I get nothing where I can't pay my mortgage, and I have a little fun with it. I know even when I bought the shares of the 48 Leaf Jackie Robinson, I went on the social medias and bragged I was a minority owner of a 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson. So I'm having a little fun with it. Some people are taking it more seriously than I, and we're going to talk about that. It also gives sellers, if you're an owner of one of these high-end, super premium, super high-value cards, it gives you an opportunity on some of these platforms. I'm going to go through the platforms here shortly and tell you, they each have sort of different rules. Very similar, but some have different methodologies, right? But if you're a seller, if you're holding one of these high-end cards, it gives you an opportunity to, sell it, right? Kind of maybe quietly, or in some cases, even hold 40% of it. And so you still own it, but you're selling shares of it and that sort of thing. So, there's different angles to it. There's buyers, there's sellers, there's the companies themselves. And speaking of the companies themselves, let's take a short break to hear from one of our national sponsors. And when we come back, I'll talk a little bit about the three companies I mentioned earlier in the program and their rules and settings. Let's start off with Collectible. And what I want to try to do with these, while they're all similar, I want to point out maybe some of the differences in these three companies. Again, Collectible, Rally Road, and Otis. Okay, Collectible right now is the only one that I know that has a secondary market where you can sell your shares. You can sell. You don't want them no more. You want to make some money. You can sell your shares to somebody else. The other thing is they will sell their items. They will sell their investments. But, and this is one thing I really like, the shareholders get to vote whether they want to sell the item for the offering price that someone is offering to buy it for. And that's another thing I like about it. Not everyone gets the same weight of votes. If I own 3 shares and you own 10 shares, your vote is pro-rated based on you owning 10 shares to my 3. So they tabulate all those votes. If it passes and the majority of the shareholders want to sell for that price, it is sold for that price and you get so much per share. Most likely a profit, because if you're agreeing to sell, you're agreeing to sell at a profit level. So I like the fact that you really do have sort of true ownership because you get voting rights. They're the only one that I know does that at this point. Whenever you buy into an offering, it's locked up in a sense for 90 days, a lockup period. You can't do anything with your shares, and it's not for sale until that 90-day period. I kind of like that. Some people may not, but that's what it is. Collectible. The thing that's kind of differentiates them as well is they're only sports cards in memorabilia. That's their focus. Sports cards and memorabilia. When you look at their staff and the people that work there, majority of them come with a sports card and memorabilia background. Very experienced, know what to look for, know what to invest in or bring aboard the platform. And that's they did their homework, they did their due diligence, and they're not actually a new company, but this is a new venture for them when it comes to fractional share. So I like the direction they go into. I mean, if we're ranking them, they're probably right there for me at number one for the 2 cents that's worth. So let's go to Rally Road. Another one that I do use. I use 2 of the 3 I'm going to talk about. Okay, they offer multiple offerings. While maybe sports cards and memorabilia, they're into sports cars. So some cars, watches, purses, handbags, wine. I mean, anything of a commodity asset they may offer on their platform. So that's where they kind of get off at a different exit than, let's say, collectible does. They do have a secondary market. This I found out, but it's only on certain days. Okay, it's only on certain days. When selling, their details were sort of vague. It was really kind of hard to tell. They matter of fact, they sort of worded it that this is more to hold for the longer term rather than the quick flip. It's worded right like that on their website. So they're not so much looking to sell quicker. They're kind of, you invest and you hold and you wait it out. They don't offer any sort of voting because they're not really trying to sell that fast. So kind of a different mentality there. Just kind of a buy in, wait, and hold on, and that sort of thing. Again, they do have a secondary market, but it's on certain days. I believe you can sell your shares. So a little different. While many similarities, a little different there. Let's talk about the third one, Otis. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, Otis or Otis. They are. I don't have any investment in this platform, so I'm only going off the research I gathered. They have what they call a stock market, 24/7 trading. They're the newer ones of the 3, so I think they're really just kind of coming into their own. I'm not sure if this market is up and operational, but they plan on having a 24/7 trading stock market where I think you can sell shares. Bids, when you sell, it uses sort of the clearing price philosophy. And what that means, folks, is whatever the highest price for the majority of the shares. So if someone offers $20 a share, but they only want 3 shares, and someone offers $15, but they want the whole lot of 20, it's going to go to the $15 because that's the most that's going to buy all the shares at the highest price for all of them. All right. Some people may not like that. I sort of like the clearinghouse method of selling shares, so keep that in mind. There is a 5% purchase fee for whatever you purchase, and a 10% selling fee. So they're getting their 15% in the end, whatever you're going to do. So this is really, once they get going, this is going to be an open market, and they're just going to make commission on the buy and sell, of it. They're almost going to be, really what they're going to be is the eBay of the 3. They're going to be where they don't even so much own the item, but they're going to profit from the purchase and sale of said item. So they're using sort of the eBay MO here on these IPOs. There's no voting because the buying and selling is taking place, in a sense, in real time. It's sort of like breaking. instant gratification. And so those are the three that I know something about, either participating myself or, what's considered the big three in fractional shares. And, when fractional shares are not really new, they're sort of new to the hobby market. But a lot of people, I wasn't sure whether they were going to last when I first heard that this was going to come to the forefront. I think a lot of people, were wondering, or some predicted, this won't stick. People want the real cards in their hands. And we've seen what, the NFTs are doing, Top Shots and blockchain, where there's really no substance behind it, and big money is going in and out of it. And this is similar, but there is some substance there. There is a real item, behind the transactions. And so I'm going to tell you right now, you don't have to like it, you don't have to do it, but fractional shares are here for the long term. I think we're going to see new companies enter the arena. Who knows? Maybe we're going to see existing companies that just go into that line. What's to say, Topps or Panini or Upper Deck doesn't offer something maybe from their vault and have people buy into it, or products even like that. And so I think Panini sort of does that with their blockchain, you could make an argument for. So fractional shares are in the early stages, in the early innings. They are here to stay. They're not going away. You may not participate in them. You may not be for them, but that is just the way the market is. And we all know right now the hobby's exploding. All sorts of new things every couple weeks. It changes in some form or fashion. It's exciting for an old guy, quite frankly, like me, to stay on their toes. I'm having fun with anything I do, and that's the bottom line. It's a good note to close the show on, folks, is whatever you do in the hobby or don't do, hey, you don't like grading, you don't like fractionals, nothing wrong with that. You're not wrong. Enjoy the hobby any way you choose. There's plenty of ways, and that's the beauty thing. There's plenty of ways to choose. So while you might not like one thing, there's a bunch of other stuff you may like. And so enjoy the hobby in whatever form or fashion you pick, you choose, and that's the bottom line. And that is a good note to close on. We'll see you next time on Hobby Quick Hits. Take care. Hey folks, thanks for listening to the show. Wanted to give out our social media links where you can follow the show even when you're not listening to it. On Twitter, we are at Hits Hobby, HitsHobby. On Instagram, we are at Hobby Quick Hits Podcast, at Hobby Quick Hits Podcast, all one word. Our website is www.sportscardnation.net. Look for the link to Hobby Quick Hits. You'll find us there. And you can always text us on our text line, area code 315-491-0239.
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.